It's Monday, April 8th, 2013. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight, we're talking about the distribution of high bandwidth data.
Exciting.
Exciting times. Let's do this. It's real good to not be coughing up my lung. I'm post-flu.
Geeknights has returned.
We're back until I might go to Turkey in the near
Gobble,
future.
gobble.
We got Anime Boston coming up. Got to finish our 5 panels
Save
for
it
that
for
shit.
the meta moment.
Well, I guess 4 panels because the 5th one might be a rerun of one we've run in the past at, I don't know, almost every convention we go to.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're into anime openers from around the world, dogs, I have not updated that shit at all.
No.
So today I go to work. You know, I'm finally like not sick and in my office and doing my thing. And one of my coworkers comes up and he's like, yeah, we can't go out of the building. There's a bomb.
Okay.
So yeah, they like shut down the whole street. And
If only you had been there, you could have opened that bag and saved the bomb squad all that money.
I still think I want someone out there to make this for me. I want to make a see something, shut the fuck up. It's probably someone's underwear, and spray paint that or put it on top of the see something, say something signs.
If you see something,
Like,
just
see something,
fucking open it.
See something, don't be a pussy. Open that shit. It's someone's underwear.
Save us all a lot of goddamn time.
So this time, I'm like, all right, whatever. So I was actually wanting to go get coffee. So I go downstairs, and of course, you can't go out the front of the building because the street's all blocked off.
Go
There's
out the
cops
service
everywhere.
entrance.
So I just walked out the other completely normal entrance on the other side of the building that I guess no one was paying attention to.
Of course.
And I did my business, and by the time I came back, everything's gone. And I see a cop. He's just kind of standing there, and I'm like, so what was in the bag? And he looks at me, and he smirks, and he says, and I quote, 2 bricks. I'm like, what? He's like, it was a bag with 2 fucking bricks in it.
Why? Now, here's a question.
I was like, just bricks? And he was like, well, there was a rolled up newspaper too, but there wasn't anything in the newspaper.
What?
So I was like, so why 2? He's like, I don't know.
How does a
I don't
bag
care.
of 2 bricks in a newspaper even fucking...
And
Is
you
that
know
a
what? He wasn't
construction-
even in front of our building. It was in front of the Staples.
Okay.
So I guess someone wanted to send a message to Staples that they're not going to take these bricks anymore. I don't know. I'm so sick of the see something, say something, because it's never something.
That's right. If you see something, shut the fuck up and
Well, it
save us all a lot of hassle.
If you see like a dude with a gun doing something.
Yeah, because, okay, here's the thing, all right?
If you see like a guy light a
No,
stick of
here's what we
dynamite
gotta
and put
change
it
it,
in a
right.
bag, you should probably tell someone.
No, here's the problem, is if you see something, say something. A bag laying in the street is not something. It's the something part is the problem, right?
Now,
It's like,
I think-
if you see something, say something. But you know what something is? Not a blade of grass, not a bag. Something is...
Wait, Scott, if you see a blade,
fire.
a blade
Of
you're gonna
grass.
let a blade go by?
Something is a guy going crazy, right? Something is,
Scott, what if I'm water type?
a fire. Right? Something is,
Grass blade's some dangerous shit.
a dude with a dangerous weapon who is not a military or police person, right? That is a something.
Well,
a
then again,
bag
Scott,
is not a
all
something.
what about all those open carry states where there's those assholes walking around with like an AR-15 just openly, just like, yeah, it's my right. It's my right. Because then you can't even say something about that.
That's not even a something, right? It's a difference between that guy just walking in the street with it slung over his back and a guy walking down the street
Menacing people going,
like holding it, right? It's like in Israel, yeah, everyone's fucking got AR-15s walking around everywhere, right? From military people
But
to
if he's
normal
singing
people to
if he's singing the
really-
hobo whitey song, the shotgun, then you might want to say something.
Right, it's in Israel, you walk down the street, everyone's got friggin' M16s everywhere, right? But you know what? It's not something because no one's holding them ready to shoot. They just all got them on their back like it's, an umbrella or something.
But that is not my opening bit. My opening bit is that Amazon fucked up for me in a pretty amazing way.
Okay.
It was a confluence of multiple fuck-ups that I couldn't even use their automated, like, something's wrong with my order thing. I had to talk to a human being.
Okay.
And the human being had to investigate and then deal with it.
They usually just tell you to keep whatever they sent you if they fuck up.
Oh, well, legally, I'm still entitled to keep the thing they sent me.
That's true.
And I might, because it's actually like $70 worth of Star Wars miniature game pieces.
Maybe someone bought it for you as a present.
Yeah, I thought that. That is not what happened.
Okay, so how could you get this game that we know about that is a nerdy thing sent to you?
Yeah, so
by
I got
accident?
the Millennium Falcon.
That
which
seems
is
like too much of a coincidence for a nerdy thing to be sent to us.
Oh, yes, it does. This is why I was confused, and it took some research to be able to go to Amazon and say, yo, guys, here's what I think happened. I've done the research. Deal with it. Because when I went to them the first time, they were like, says your package is delivered. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm trying to contact you. I don't have the items I ordered. They're like, but it was delivered. And I was like, well, you see, not really, but kind of. So, yeah, so I got Slave 1. First, I was like, did Matt Morgan or someone send me this?
Yeah,
to
he's
try to
way
get
into
me?
that game. If I wasn't playing Netrunner, I'd be playing that game.
Dude, that's the kind of shady shit I would
I saw
expect
some
from a good
guys
friend
playing
like
that game at PAX East. It looked pretty good.
Can you imagine, like, you know what we could do? We could find a friend who we know would get addicted to Netrunner and just mail it to them.
Just mail them a core set?
Yeah, just be like,
Start sending out core sets to everyone.
yeah.
And then they'll be stuck buying all the expansions.
So at first I was like, oh, I guess someone sent me this. I wonder if it was Matt, because he's the most into this of anyone I know who knows my address. But it had like no note in it, nothing.
Usually there's a note on the white receipt that says
nothing.
the gift and message.
So I just set it on the table and ignored it. And then like a week later, it's like, wait a minute, I ordered something on Amazon that never arrived.
What did you order that never arrived?
Ahem. So what I ordered on Amazon that never arrived.
Was it Netrunner? Because that's from the same company.
It actually was not. That would have made a lot more sense. It was a completely unrelated order of the Mosquito expansion.
For Hive.
For the Hive. The Ladybug expansion for the Hive.
Nice.
A new Jimmy wallet, because mine finally wore out and they don't seem to fucking make them
They
anymore.
sell those on Amazon?
Yeah, you can't buy them from the Jimmy website anymore. I think they're
What?
done. Go to the Jimmy website. They list almost everything as out of stock. And if you actually try to order the things they list as in stock, you just get shopping cart errors.
Store.
Like, it doesn't work. I
Jimmy
tried.
X.
I called the Jimmy number and no one answered. I
Jimmy
went on
X,
Amazon. I found one dude.
Your
who's
shopping
selling,
cart is empty. It is
Hey.
not orderable.
Yeah. So there's no. I think they're gone. I think it's done. So
My last Jimmy.
I tried to order 2 Jimmys because I need one and I want. You know, it's an aside, but on Kickstarter, it seems like wallets are the most popular thing to Kickstarter. There's like 1 million. I made a wallet out
I guess
of
my next
titanium.
wallet's going to be a Kickstarted one.
Yeah, and you know what? I looked at every
They all
Kickstarted
suck?
wallet. They all are better. If I didn't know about the Jimmy, they're pretty great compared to a normal wallet. But you know what? I've had a Jimmy. None of them come close.
Why don't we make a wallet even
is just the
better than
Jimmy?
the Jimmy and kickstart that motherfucker?
What would I change in the Jimmy? I would. It holds the right number of cards. I would have a separate slot to hold thin cards like Metro cards and things that has exterior access. Just for Metro cards.
We gotta get designer, industrial designer.
We happen to know a few.
Gee, we know a few of everything.
Yeah. You know, we don't know a few of that I actually could really use. A lawyer who is also a financial accountant.
Isn't Thayed some sort of financial lawyerish
He
person?
might charge money.
Yeah, that's what people do
No, I
when
want
they're
friends
lawyers.
who will go into a joint business venture with me, paid entirely in stock
There
options.
is actually a website. I don't know if it still exists, but it's actually a pretty new website that comes close to my Stack Overflow of lawyers idea, but not quite. What it is it's sort of all these lawyers. It's almost like, you know, those websites you go to hire tutors where they list like their qualifications and their hourly rate.
Oh, yeah.
It's like that for lawyers. So you tell them where you are and what kind of lawyer you want, and it shows you all these lawyers and all their rates, like hourly. And people are like 20 minutes free, you know, $30 per hour after that.
I actually kind of am in the market as Geeknights because Yamato SRL is escalating to the point that I might have to issue some full-on DMCA counter notifications, at which point the only recourse they have is to actually sue us.
All right, I mean, let me search my delicious for.
So anyway, and I ordered a Razer Death Adder Black 3500 high precision 3.5G infrared gaming mouse.
What's wrong with the gaming mouse you
My
have?
Steel
Mr.
Series XAI fucking broke.
How did it break?
I wore it the fuck out.
How could it be worn the fuck out?
Yeah, so the fire button does not 100% reliably click anymore, which literally my Counter-Strike performance dropped off about 80%. Like one day I was playing Counter-Strike and I just wasn't, like, my kill ratio was 1-to-1 instead of my like 5-to-1. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm doing terribly. So I go into a server where no one's there and I go to a wall and I go click, 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 click. And it went shoot, shoot, nothing, shoot. So I did some testing and yeah, the fire button is just unreliable now. And the cord frayed the fuck up and I had to fix it with tape. So I'm never buying a SteelSeries mouse again.
I'm pretty sure any mouse you get will have that happen if the way
This wore out.
You seem to like breaking your things on purpose to have an excuse to buy replacements.
I bought a less good mouse. I bought a cheaper, less high quality gamer mouse to replace this one.
So I found the lawyer website. It's called Law Dingo, and you can go there and get simple questions answered cheap, and you can also browse lawyers to find a lawyer that is can help you with whatever
Did the dingo eat your...
And the thing is, normally it's like, who's going to trust this website? Well, it's not really the website you have to trust. It's the lawyer, right? And the thing is, I sort of feel confident in this because any lawyer on here is a lawyer who is internet-y enough to put themselves on here.
And also not doing well enough to where they have real clients to such a degree that they have time for this bullshit. Meaning they'll probably actually work with me, and they might be cool enough to talk to me.
No, maybe, but yeah, I mean, you can't hurt yourself by just calling someone on the phone if you see them on the site, right? What's the worst that can happen? They're a fake lawyer.
They sue you
so
immediately.
You stop calling them,
They're
right?
a real lawyer.
You hang up.
They're a real lawyer. They send you an invoice for the 5 minutes of their time at $900 an hour.
Anyway, so yeah, Law Dingo, I guess. Try it out. See how it works, Rim.
Anyway,
you can review it for us.
I'm not at the point of lawyering up yet, but I'm preparing to lawyer up because usually when companies file stupid lawsuits on copyright, the people, even if they're in the
stupid lawsuits
right,
about anything.
Yeah, the people in the right usually don't have the ability to fight. And I never fault someone who does not have the ability to fight, not fighting. But woe betide you come after me and Scott because we've got enough money and enough righteous indignation to burn everything
usually
we
the way
own.
it works is it's like, let's say someone sues me, right? Well, I could win, but if I win, it'll cost me all my monies to win, and I'll basically lose even though I won
So,
in
Scott,
court.
here's the operative question.
If I lose, of course, I also lose a whole bunch. But if I just settle with them, I give them a little bit of money. I don't die, but they get free money, even if they're wrong. So
the question to always ask is, are you right?
That's right. If I feel that I'm right, like if I'm wrong, I'll just admit I'm wrong, right? But if I feel that I'm right, which I usually do because I'm not going to do something I think is wrong, I will set myself on fire to get justice. And I hope, one, that threat will scare people away.
And two,
it'll
be fun.
I actually will set myself, I will burn all of my money and go bankrupt if you come after me, right?
And you're wrong.
Yeah, and I think you're wrong. So watch out, anyone trying to sue me, because I will take it all the way.
So this package did not arrive, but it said delivered. And I had this other mysterious package that arrived on the day they said that one was delivered. So first I look, and the tracking numbers match. That's the crazy thing.
They probably just put the wrong label on the wrong box.
Yep, they will. So they
There's
sent
someone
me,
else out there who ordered a X-Wing Fate miniature.
So they sent me
who's
the
also
wrong
a
box,
nerd.
But in that box was an invoice with the price and everything, and it was more money than my other order for these Star Wars pieces.
Nice.
And a different order ID from my order. I had to explain all of this information to Amazon so many times for them to finally be like, oh, like maybe we sent you the wrong package. I was like, yes, that is what you did.
How many times?
This order ID, that order ID, copy paste, copy paste.
I guess you get to keep this, and they're gonna send you the new stuff.
Well, they're sending me a shipping label to send this back.
Really interesting.
And they already gave me a refund for the order that they didn't send.
So you just reorder that?
I have to reorder it manually because they no longer have the ability to resend orders that fail, apparently.
Mm-hmm.
Because most of the things people order are from third-party resellers and not from them direct. Or it's them doing fulfillment and the order IDs change, and it was a giant pain in the ass. Thanks, Amazon, for fucking up and delaying. I actually really need this gaming mouse. Like, I'm...
I
really
bought a new mouse.
Not doing well in Counter-Strike.
I bought the Logitech. I bought a new mouse for work. I bought a Newegg. Logitech.
Yeah.
Newegg.
I like the Razer Death Adder because it's got the shape that I like of mice.
I don't like any weird mice. I get the default Logitech mouse. That's the one that everyone gets.
Most default Logitech mice have too much of a hump.
Not it's the gaming mouse that everyone uses. What's it called?
I don't like humps. I basically like pucks.
You're crazy.
I also need a thumb button. Anyway.
At home, I have the G500, but at work, I have the G something else.
I really like my SteelSeries, but it wore out way too quick for how much money I spent on this fucker.
Whatever. Okay.
Okay.
Let's do some newses.
So what do you got?
So this is a company called Aereo. I don't know if anyone's heard of them. We may have mentioned them before. There's a billboard for them right outside on the, not right outside the window, but over by the subway where the end sort of starts to turn. It's like right in that area.
I guess I never noticed.
Yeah, so what Aereo does is they set up TV antennas and catch the...
Okay. I know who this is.
They catch the over-the-air TV, and you can pay them money, and they will send you over the internet the over-the-air TV that you should be getting. So let's say you live in an apartment, and it's really hard to set up a good antenna, but you're in a space, like your apartment is in New York, you're entitled to those free over-the-air channels that are the radio waves of which are penetrating your apartment, right? You were supposed to be able to watch those for free legally. So what Aereo does is they put up an antenna for you, they catch the TV, and then they stream those TV stations over the internet to you for a small fee.
Now,
right?
one, I would argue,
Not giving any money to the TV stations themselves.
and you know what? I am totally okay with that.
And the court seems to also, the court case is obviously far from over.
Yup.
But so far, Aereo is winning.
What I've read from brief summaries of this is that part of this is hinging around the fact that Fox can't prove any harm to them because they're giving it away for free.
Another thing
anyway.
is the judge also pointed out how, they're not letting people watch TV stations from far away. You only get the ones that would be available in the spot that you live.
Yep.
And you only get it for you. It's not like, you can do it and then, have people all crazy places, start watching.
Well, you
it.
can with a sling box or something.
I'm just saying, right? But it's not, that's not the point, right? So the judge is like, yeah, I see nothing wrong with this, right?
To me, this is just an extension of the recent re-emergence of the weird debate over whether or not it's okay to block ads on the internet. Like,
Right.
It's the same thing. In my opinion, if you provide content in a way that is actually free and available, then people have the right to consume that content however they wish.
Well, we're going to get back to that in a second with my second news, right? But anyway, so the Aereo news number one, right? You got two Aereo newses and then the second news.
Yep.
So Aereo news number one is that they're winning in court. Aereo news number two is that Fox, in response to the fact that they realized they were losing,
this is rich.
yeah, they said, all right, if we lose and Aereo keeps operating, we're just going to stop broadcasting over the air and we'll go cable only with Fox. And, I have to say to that,
Awesome.
go for it, right? Yeah, because the Super Bowl is really going to want to be broadcast on to only people with cable. They're going to, the NFL is not going to allow you to broadcast football games only on cable, Fox.
I think it'll actually, I'm hoping more and more that these companies that are so mad about anything related to internet distribution actually do wall themselves off, just like all these news sites that are bit by bit hiding behind paywalls, because actually
the news sites are starting to come out of the paywall.
a few of them are doubling down.
I'm sure. But yeah, it's kind of weird. They're all trying different stuff. They're all dumb.
Well, the other thing is that the Aereo business model, I am not a lawyer. I am not a business analyst. This is a pure, raw opinion, so don't come suing me for anything. I think it's the same basic business model as Crunchyroll was originally, in my opinion.
No.
You know what? This may or may not be legal. Who gives a fuck? We're going to do it anyway. We're going to fight the lawsuits, and we'll probably win and get a pile of money in the end.
There's a guy, I'm not sure where he is, but he's got a dish, and he is rebroadcasting all the Mets games this year, every single one, right? And he's basically adding value, right, to this. Number one, his stream is the best illegal sports stream I've ever seen in terms of quality. It's Ultra HD, and it doesn't lag at all, ever. Two, he's keeping it sort of private. Like, I found out about it, so it's not that private. But he's pretty much keeping it with, like, a small group of Mets fans, and he's building a community around it. So it's like, when you go to this thing, and I did it at work once when there was a day game last week, there's a chat room, and everyone's chatting, and there's maybe only 50 people watching, right? And you're all watching this thing together, and when a commercial comes on, he pushes a button to cover up the commercial and show you, like, scores from around the, and it's like, because he's a fan of the same team as you, right? Not just some European guy rebroadcasting to make money on ads. He's just doing it out of the goodness, right? He's like, showing you, he's flipping to the games that, like, a Mets fan would care to see that aren't the Mets game. And he's, it's pretty much the awesomest. So I hope more shit like this happens. And you know what? This is what the baseball people should be doing, but they're not. They're if I pay for MLB TV, which is actually not that expensive, right? I can only watch out-of-market games. So if I'm in New York, they don't let me watch the team I actually give a shit about. It's like, yeah, I'm not paying you any money for those other fucking teams. Who gives a fuck? I don't want to watch Marlins, friggin' Giants. Fuck that shit, right? I would give you that money if you only showed me the Mets games. But since those are the only ones you don't show me, I guess you don't show me Yankees games either, but fuck those. Right? I'm paying you nothing, and I'm going to watch this illegal stream guy who's also providing a happy community to watch with. You could do that, but you didn't.
I would pay and watch a lot of hockey if it was easier to watch hockey. Just saying.
Anyway, news number 2, which relates to your point about ad blocking, right? There are 2 incidents that have happened recently that are interesting. Now, with ad blocking, some website, some server sends HTMLs to you, and then with your web browser, you decide what to do with those HTMLs.
Yeah, I mean, in the old days, like, not everyone could display images. Some blind people have things transmitted in a different way.
Right. What if your ISP were to set up some sort of squid proxy server and modify the HTMLs on their way to you? Is that okay?
Now, I would argue no, because I am paying for direct access to the internet to connect to people that I want to connect to directly.
So there are 2 instances. Instance number 1.
I can name a lot more instances going back about a decade.
Right, no. Instance number 1 is the not so bad instance, but still troubling. Comcast has done a thing recently where if you're hitting near your bandwidth limit, they'll basically insert a JavaScript, a really shitty one, into every page you visit that will pop up a bandwidth limit warning that tells you how much you have left and that you should stop interneting, right? So that's not really the worst in the world.
Yeah, I'm still not okay with it.
Obviously, it doesn't work.
That could be handled. Well, it's rare for me to say something like this. That is better handled by
a text message.
Or
a phone call,
an application
an
you run
email
that will give you notifications on your computer if you like.
You shouldn't. Yeah, if you shouldn't have to install that. Though.
Yeah, but
they should just call you or text you or whatever.
Or they should have reasonable prices and bandwidth policies.
That's also true. Anyway,
but I digress.
But yeah, okay. Number 2, there's apparently some small ass ISP out in the middle of fuck nowhere, and what they're doing is evil. They are inserting ads into major websites that don't belong there. And
that has happened so many times in the history of the internet.
Right. And the company that does the ads hasn't commented, and it's shady. So they have screenshots like going to apple.com, and there it is right at the bottom of apple.com.
Fuck them. I
Some
hope the
ad
FCC,
for like something else.
I hope the FCC destroys them and someone goes to jail.
I don't know if the FCC would go after them. The guy called the FCC. They said to call the FTC.
I was going to say.
So there's at least one guy who noticed this on his parents' computers, and he did all sorts of tests. Like SSL, it doesn't show up.
That'd be like if
it only shows up on major websites.
If my local cable network was distributing the Super Bowl, and when the Super Bowl ads came up, I showed my own ads.
Well, I mean, they do have some spots that are for the local cable channels.
They do, but that would be like if I was putting ads in other places.
Right. So
that's all fun.
Yeah, really interesting stuff there. So,
yeah,
what do you have for news?
So, what I want to talk about, because I realized that the Streisand effect, people use that term a lot on the internet.
I was going to use it for an April Fool's Day episode of Geeknights, but our episode wasn't on April Fool's Day.
Hopefully, we'll remember in a year or so.
Whatever.
But so I want to bring this up because this is such an amazing example of the Streisand effect. And it also reiterates something that I've talked about a lot on Geeknights, that for all we complain about the United States, we still pretty much, even with a lot of our terrible copyright stuff,
that keeps getting worse,
have the freest internet and free speech on the entire internet.
We just have the slowest. If we also had the fastest, things would be fun.
Well, on average, we have the slowest. I mean, there are places...
We don't have the slowest. We just have slow compared to other countries that are equal to us.
But at the same time, if you ignore all of our rural areas and small markets and only look at our big markets, we're near the top. We're not at the top.
No, friggin' in Netherlands, they have gigabit, right?
Yeah, but that bandwidth does not translate to the rest of the world. When they connect to things further away, like in the United States, they have a lot less bandwidth, and
Yeah.
a lot of content is still in the U.S.
Koreans got it pretty fast, I think. A lot
Yeah,
faster
well, they have
than
a lot
us.
more local
many
content.
many megabits per person.
They have a lot more local content than Scandinavia
Japan,
does. Or than
Japan a little faster than us, I think, right? Many megabits wirelessly, right? Come
yeah,
on.
but at the same time, it really depends on where you look because there are neighborhoods
And
in the U.S.
Japan
with
telephone-
extremely fast internet.
And Japanese don't need Aereo because their mobile phones can watch broadcast over-the-air television.
That's a separate thing altogether. Again,
I'm just saying.
But anyway,
our shit is sucky.
this is some harsh shit, and I already wasn't super happy with the government of France, but this goes to a new level.
I've never been happy with the
So,
government of France.
What the French government basically
Oh.
contacted a random Wikipedia admin, and their criteria apparently for choosing this Wikipedia admin was they were able to identify the person's real name and address, and that person lived in France.
Okay, so they found the only Wikipedia admin with publicly available information who lives in France.
And what they did is they basically took that person in and said, delete this article about this military base in France, or we will arrest you.
So why?
So that admin-
they could have just deleted that article themselves. It's Wikipedia.
I think the article had been deleted and it was reinstated because that's how Wikipedia
That's
works.
how it goes.
This
That's
admin-
called the tough shit rule.
This admin apparently tried to explain to them the futility of this. Never mind the fact that this.
I would have been like, okay, I'll delete it. Push the delete button and go home.
So basically, that's what they did in the end. And
then, of course, it comes back 5 minutes
so
later.
it came back,
Right.
and now that is one of the most translated Wikipedia articles in the world.
Yep.
It is now in the English Wikipedia instead of just the French specific one. This military base is now a tourist destination. Nerds have been showing up and taking as many pictures of it as they can. Everyone is talking about this
There
base.
must be something going on there.
You may not be old enough to remember who Barbara Streisand is.
I'm
But
sure
the
if you watch
Streisand
South
effect-
Park, then you know.
That's some pretty old South Park, actually.
Mecha Streisand is old?
Mecha Streisand, I would bet that at least a third of the kids who saw that episode have no idea what that's referencing.
I'm pretty sure that Barbara... I mean, I don't know famous people.
Scott,
but I know
we're
who Barbara Streisand
30.
is.
We're 30. I know for a fact, based on a conversation I had at Anime Boston 2 years ago, that a lot of kids have never even heard of like Celine Dion.
That's that Canadian lady who's in Vegas. Even I know who that is.
Yeah.
Even I know who that is, and I don't know who people are.
Scott, the internet today was abounding with people who hated or loved Margaret Thatcher, but don't seem to actually know who she was.
Well, that's just people. When I notice when people don't know something, and the first thing they read about it on the internet is everything is suddenly, law, and they'll defend whatever that first thing they read was.
It's like, dude, Breitbart really isn't the best place to go.
So it's like maybe one of our listeners, right, doesn't know who Barbara Streisand is. So if we say she's good, they'll say she's good, and that'll be what they believe forever. And if we say she's bad, then that'll be what they believe
So
forever.
guys, Barbara Streisand is important for one reason.
You'll get that South Park joke. That's the important reason.
There were pictures that she wanted not on the internet and not in newspapers. No one gave a shit about those pictures until she started trying to sue people to get them taken down. Then the entire world cared about those photographs.
Yeah, because as soon as you say take those down, everyone's like, oh, someone wants some pictures taken down. I wonder what's in those pictures.
Headline, Streisand doesn't want this picture.
My curiosity is exploding suddenly. And also, even if my curiosity is not exploding, my contempt and my desire for free information is exploding. So
guys,
to spite you, I will spread them even though I don't give a fuck.
In this day and age, in the year 2013, the Streisand effect is more powerful and
than you
immediate
can possibly
than
imagine.
You can possibly
if you try to strike
imagine.
something down,
It's
will
basically,
become more...
in fact, I would bet that there are a number of times where people try to invoke the Streisand effect in a false flag against themselves because there is no surer way to get the entire world, at least the industrialized world, to talk about something than to tell them not to talk about it.
That's right.
And the internet is making this so easy and so awesome. So France, seriously, words cannot describe the contempt I have for the people who decided that this was a good idea. But anyway, things of the day.
So, there's a guy, and there are many geekeries, and on Geek Nights, we celebrate all the geekeries. There's this dude named, I guess, Jorg Sprave. At least that's the name of his YouTube account. And his geekery is slingshots. He runs the Slingshot channel. Slingshots are his thing. That is an awesome thing to be the geek of. Power to this guy. So,
All right.
separately from the Slingshot channel, which could be a thing in the day of itself, Bill and Melinda Gates have put forth the condom challenge. Basically, they think that condoms suck.
There's a frat boy condom challenge that is probably not this.
Not that kind of condom challenge.
That challenge is how many condoms can you put on?
Right. They're basically saying condoms are flawed. They're clumsy.
I did read in a research paper many years ago that basically said that condoms are like 99.9% effective if used properly, but they're actually only like 70% effective because people just can't fucking figure them out.
Exactly. So, Bill Gates is like, hey, I'll give you $100,000 if you can improve condoms, product design wise, right? Because obviously you're not gonna be able to educate those 30% of people who fuck it up, right? All you can do is improve the condom. So, Slingshot guy has a way to improve the condom. He wants his $100,000. Here's his YouTube video proposal.
So, a while ago, we did a book club book on The Great Gatsby.
There's actually, I found out today, the Astoria Historical Society, which is in this mansion on Steinway called the Steinway Mansion.
I've seen the Steinway Mansion.
It has a Great Gatsby exhibit right now.
We should go to that this weekend.
We can go to that.
That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
Because Emily just read The Great Gatsby, Geek Nights Book Club, and she really liked it. And I reread some parts and remembered that I really liked it.
Pretty good, yeah. Good book
So,
for a reason.
There was a link that we talked about in the forum from a web series called Crash Course, and it was a gentleman with some animation basically explaining why The Great Gatsby is one of the greatest books ever written.
Oh, so I saw the links to these and I didn't watch them because I thought they would just be cliff notes. But is it actually explaining why it's great as opposed to
here's the
just
deal.
telling you the book?
Crash Course is 3 separate series. This literary analysis series, world history, and U.S. history.
Okay.
He has tons and tons of episodes on things like World War II, the Mongols, the American Revolution.
Oh, I want to watch that Mongols one.
The Mongols
I
one's
don't
one of
know
the
as
best
much about the
ones.
Mongols I'm supposed
The
to know.
Cold War, Islam. And they are, 1, super well researched, 2, super well produced, 3, incredibly entertaining, and 4, there's a ton of them. You should watch every video that's been uploaded by the Crash Course YouTube channel.
I know what I'm doing, what I'm going to do at work. I'm going to get educated.
I have watched every one of these.
Whoa.
And I think my favorite ones are the ones on U.S. politics because he goes into just enough inside baseball to where you'll learn like interesting things that you wouldn't otherwise learn. It's not just a superficial view, but at the same time, it's enough of a breadth of overview that you learn useful things and anecdotes, and it's pretty accurate. There are very few points he raises that I would take any umbrage with at all, and they're so minor that I just couldn't be bothered. These are so well done. This is the level of flash and production values that we eventually strive for with Geek Nights Presents, and I'm going to try to get this guy on Geek Nights to talk to him because these are so awesome.
Oh, that's a good idea. But yeah, I really want to know about the Mongols because I really don't know as much about them as I should.
He does this thing in the world history one where
all I know about them is Genghis Khan conquered most of the world. He lived in Mongolia.
So every time he talks about
and
empire
also
or
break
world
down my
history
shitty wall,
or
Mongolians.
anything, he will always point out the exceptions to a rule. Like, empires can't be governed in this particular way unless you're, wait for it, and then he shows this same 10-second montage of clips from some Mongols movie from like the 60s. And the Mongols are always the exception. They're like the odd man out in all of world history. There's
Maybe
been no
that's
other
why the
empire
history
like
books
them.
keep ignoring them, because then every time your teacher teaches you something, you'd be like, aha, what about the Mongols?
What about the Mongols? And it's like, yeah, they were the exception. Now shut up.
I want to go check that out now.
But these are so great. And they're funny, too. He's a really funny guy.
Well, cutting to clips from a 60s movie. That's be funny, right?
Yeah, but he's a funny guy independently. The writing's good. I have nothing but good things to say about this. John Green is a minor hero of mine, and you should watch every video that he's uploaded.
Does he really have to send those X-Wing guys back?
Legally, I could probably keep them. It's not it's a Slave 1 and it's a Millennium Falcon.
I don't think that's enough to play with.
No, it's not.
Then forget it.
So, in the meta moment, we're going to be at
Anime Boston.
We are doing 5 lectures. Offhand, I think they're I'm still a little ill.
That's the first one.
Anime openers from around the world, how to recommend anime, how to run an anime club, all anime are the same, and judge an anime by its cover.
All right.
Better start working on those.
We actually only really need to work on the all anime are the same. The rest we can do off the cuff, pretty much.
I know, I got to put slides together of like talking points. But
I mean, for judge an anime by its cover, all we have to do really is take the latest anime chart and cut it up into individual slides, and then we'll do it live. We'll judge them by their cover.
I think what we're going to do is the first half of that panel, we're going to do like that live, and the second half, we're going to explain what we did.
Maybe, or we can do it as we're at the same time, right?
Here's the second half.
We go to an anime, we judge it, and then we say why we're judging it. Next one.
We can do in the end, in the second half, take some old shows that everyone has seen, that everyone already knows the deal, like Cowboy Bebop, and show the equivalent sort of like what the cover would be, and point out why those covers elicit such a different feeling and why those shows tend to be better.
That's too much work. Anyway,
I can work on that one because it's easy. Tell you what, I'll work on the other 4, and you handle the complicated one with all the clips.
I will handle the one with the complicated, all the clips, if you get the source movies.
Actually, I've been working on that. I got some really high quality of 2 of them. I just need to get some Lupins. Daryl Surratt said he can help me out. So
yeah, I think the Assassin Island one, because that one had a lot of the cliches of that type. Because there's they go to an island. An island always works, right? Especially compared to the One Piece movie.
Yep, and the Slayers movie.
Right, exactly. It's always on an island, separate from everything else. Actually, we just use those 3, right? The Slayers movie, the One Piece movie, and the Lupin movie, all on the island, right? Because those all have those. There's a female on the island. It's got the hots for Lupin / Luffy / it's
got the weird cutaways. It's perfect.
Secret villain who's just on that island, right? Anyway,
yeah, you get a little insight into how we plan panels.
Sure. Other meta moments after Anime Boston is Kineticon.
We're scheduling now. If you didn't submit your panel already, the odds of you getting a time slot that isn't like 8 a.m. on Sunday decrease rapidly.
Third, a week after Anime Boston, PAX Australia.
We have
down
submitted.
The fuck under.
We
under
have submitted
fucking everything.
3 panels / lectures.
And we'll see how many get accepted.
2 of which are, we've been guaranteed 1.
That's for sure.
And
at least 1.
2 of them are old standbys that have been reinvigorated for a modern era.
And I'm pretty sure Australians haven't seen them.
And the third one is something new that we haven't even really discussed because I don't think that'll be picked because I basically said, if you want something totally new and not something you've already done, and you really don't want the other 2, which we'd prefer to do, you can have this one and then we'll have to write it.
And then actually, like a month and a half after PAX Australia is PAX Seattle.
Yeah.
PAX Prime.
Yeah, PAX Prime and PAX Dev.
Oh, whoa.
And in between all that, I might be going to Turkey, and I might be going to Munich, and
I'll be biking around New York City and biking around New York City.
And right after Anime Boston,
and playing Netrunner.
We might have a private party at a house somewhere.
And I think
we're already planning our New Year's extravaganza for MagFest.
Okay, you mean the machine supremacy, whatever.
Oh my God.
This Friday at 2 p.m. are the NS2 NSL finals in Germany. It is Nexel versus Archaea. Archaea is the evil team, basically the Yankees. They never lose.
I'm rooting for them now. I don't care that they're evil.
Front runner. Nexel is the American team. The players on that team are actually independent of nationality, much nicer, cooler people. And I really want them to win and beat the evil team.
See, I want them to win and beat the evil team, but
so badly.
Having been at RIT and having been a part of the fan culture around the evil team, I kind of like being on the evil team.
So the Mighty Ducks are going to beat you. The end.
You know what?
And the Mighty Ducks that was where it comes from, right? The bad team was called the evil team, right?
No, it was actually called the evil team in Shaolin Soccer.
Oh, that's right. Shaolin Soccer was the evil team.
They were the evil team, but they weren't called the evil team.
Yeah,
in
I forget
the
what they were called. Yeah, Shaolin Soccer is the one where it's called the evil team.
Remember that episode of South
Park?
But anyway,
Archaea is the Shaolin Soccer evil team with the steroids and everything.
Remember that episode of South Park where the underdog team goes to play against the Detroit Red Wings?
Yeah. That's basically what's most likely to happen on Friday.
Yeah.
Sadly. But yeah, and there's actually like thousands of dollars in prizes. So if and NS2 is really the first video game I've highly enjoyed spectating outside of Omegathon Finals. So if you care at all, it's worth watching.
Video game I've enjoyed spectating. I enjoy spectating Counter-Strike Pro matches in a big way.
I haven't watched too many. I've only watched one or two.
I've been trying to play increasingly competitively, so I either spend a lot of time watching the previous round, or I spend a lot of time dead in the serious scrim watching everyone else. It's funny, like I play on pubs, and I'm basically Neo, likened unto ye gods above. And then I go to like the Anarchy Death server, and I am easily like the second to last person on the server in terms of goodness. The last person being Bot Dave.
Way to go, Bot Dave.
Bot Dave, I hope you don't ever dominate me again. And the book club book is...
The Player of Games, coincidentally and sadly written by Ian M. Banks, who after we selected this book, we have learned is going to die soon.
I hope against hope that this does not start a precedent of the Geeknights book club being fatal.
Yes, otherwise we should pick books
wait a minute!
We hate.
Scott, wait a minute.
Of all the conservative people you don't
Scott
like.
Fitzgerald isn't alive anymore either.
But he didn't announce that he was going to die after I chose his book. He's been dead for a while.
Our Scott Backer's still alive, so we're all good.
He's healthy, very healthy, as far as we know.
No date announced yet for the next Prince of Nothing book.
Not either for Loch Lamora.
Loch Lamora.
So we either kill people or we kill their writing ability.
I think the trick is to never read the sequel.
Book club's canceled.
Yeah.
He's going to get better.
I mean, the first King Killer book was okay. The second one, after we reviewed it, is sex kung fu.
Sure. Some people really like that, apparently.
More people like that than The Great Gatsby because apparently they're terrible readers.
They're shallow and they like fan service because they're fans. Anyway.
So,
you should go to frontrowcrew.com if you listen to this show.
There was a problem that we as technologists in the world solved before Scott and I were born. And then with the advent of a different society, we have now unsolved it.
So the basic fundamental problem here is I have some data. I want to send this data to not just one person, but a lot of people. And I wanted to send it to all those people simultaneously and quickly. How do I do this?
Now here's the trouble. We're talking obviously primarily about video. Now in the old days,
because that video is the thing that's going to take a lot of data.
We use broadcast because sure, HD broadcast even today is a lot of bandwidth, but it's one way and the amount of bandwidth is static. It's as though you're streaming it once to one person. Just everyone can piggyback on that.
Yeah, I mean, you have this piece of this, part of the frequency of the spectrum in the sky.
Or on the cable or wherever.
Yeah, specifically dedicated to this and only that all the time, 24/7. And all you do is take your antenna, drain the fucking power plant to boost the antenna, and broadcast and keep the antenna on all day. And anyone who wants to watch, it works. Even if everyone in the city watches at the same time, it works. Even if everyone in the world, assuming your antenna is that powerful and you have reflectors to reflect to the other side of the world, everyone watches all at the same time, that's it. You're good. It doesn't matter.
And even with compression, if you think about it, the amount of data that is broadcast via cable television alone, like HD TV today, is ridiculous and staggering.
Yeah, think about this right now. I'm in New York City, right? Unlike some other places in the world, we have a lot of local TV stations coming over the air, right? Like 2 of every major network, because I'm pretty sure the Connecticut stations can reach us too.
Now, you know what's interesting? When I lived in Detroit, it was the same deal.
Think about how many radio stations, AM and FM, right? And think about how many satellites are beaming their shit down at us. We are basically being crazily, and how many Wi-Fi is not a count, right?
And this isn't new, because actually in the old days...
It's been this way for decades.
In some senses, in the old days...
If not a century.
Before HD, in some ways it could be argued that we were sending more data, partly because of the lossy analog nature of all that crap, and just the really inefficient mechanisms we use to encode
ever
that
since
data.
they invented the radio, this has been true. We are being bombarded by all sorts of radio waves all the goddamn time. And we can choose which one we can tune to any one of them we like.
So that's all well and good, but then the future came, and now I want to watch Game of Thrones right now. Scott wants to watch Game of Thrones starting about 5 minutes after me on his own computer, and a million other people want to watch it at all sorts of different times.
Well, everyone can get a DVR, and everyone will just has to have their antenna working at the time it's broadcast, remember what was broadcast, and then they're all good.
Now, that is actually the old model that worked very effectively. Is
Called
that,
the VCR.
Yeah, that you would just time shift, that the data is still going out. You're subscribed to this giant feed of data.
It's like, yeah, if you want that data, you got to be on at the time that data is going out. You'll get the data, and then do with it as you please.
Now, it's interesting that even when the VCR came out, there were immediate lawsuits to basically try to keep that technology out of the hands of consumers because the media
it's a
industry
Boston Strangler.
was terrified of the idea that someone could tape something and watch it later.
That's why that's actually another reason it was very rare to put like big movies on TV. Like it would be an event when a big movie was on TV.
Yeah,
like on broadcast television.
When Alice in Wonderland, the animated movie, was on broadcast TV, like me and all my little friends watched it at the same time.
I mean, there'd be like, there'd be that Disney thing, like on ABC, like Tinkerbell would fly across the screen, and you'd be like, oh shit, it's time for a real fucking movie on actual fucking TV
you would
for free.
schedule your life around
people would
a
know,
thing that would
people
happen.
would know that shit was coming when they have their VCRs ready.
And we're not talking scheduling around like, oh, Seinfeld's on at 7, gotta be home to watch that. It was like, hey, you're all watching the Merlin thing on Saturday, right?
Yeah.
They're gonna show it twice, and that's it.
Those days are fucking over.
So, no, I'm cool and internet-y, and I just want to click on stuff and watch it when I want to watch it, and I want individual streams sent to me, and we don't really yet have good ways to do this.
No.
Now,
right? Because if different people aren't all watching at the same time, you can't just spray the data out all at once. Right? That doesn't work because someone's going to turn it on and tap into the feed, and suddenly they're in the middle.
Now, at the same time, really, you could, if we engineered the internet a little bit. And there's some of these facilities
But
exist.
then if we engineered the internet that way, it'd be really bad for the other things we use the internet
Not
for, like
necessarily.
visiting websites.
They exist in parallel. And what you could do is have something called a content distribution network.
We have those.
Yes, but they're not because of the way the internet is, it's hard to do what I'm about to propose. I'm not necessarily saying this is the best way to do it, and I'm going to really, really simplify the idea. But in IP, IPv4, IPv6, there's the concept of multicast.
That's hardly ever used ever.
It's used a lot internal to organizations. Like if you got some Tibco middleware,
Yeah,
like
but I
TibRV.
mean, on the capital I internet, hardly ever used. It's mostly used on
the idea
networks.
is that you have data that's just going to your network all the time. It just goes to your routers. And your router knows who has requested that stream or not.
So basically, anyone who's connected to the router, let's say it's a 10-port router, the people on ports 1 through 5 just tell the router, hey, I want to subscribe to that shit. And then it comes in one hole on the router will copy it and send it to all 5 holes simultaneously.
I think I actually want to go one step more detail than that, because you wouldn't actually have 5 people connected to the router. You connect networks to routers, not devices.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
But this kind of shows why this is such a scalable idea in theory. So you've got your router,
Yep.
as opposed to your switch.
Yeah.
So the router knows, it's getting the stream from the source. Like it's Game of Thrones, it's whatever the hell. It's going to the router. The router then knows the switch, basically from the switch, will say things like, someone on this VLAN, it wants this data. Now, as soon as you're giving that data to that VLAN at all, anyone on that VLAN can get the same data with no increase in bandwidth usage at any level beyond that switch's actual individual ports. Because modern internet, modern Ethernet is basically full duplex, one device per port. So as a result, once you send it to that subnet, either everyone's getting it or no one's getting it, and the switch does even further optimization where the packages don't go out to places where there aren't people to listen in the first place.
So if 20 people in the office building all want the data, right, we actually only need to have one copy of that data coming into the building from the outside, and our internal networking equipment will sort of copy it for everybody as it comes in.
Now this
Thus, our bandwidth bill for our external internet will be 20 times lower than if we had 20 copies coming in.
Now this still doesn't solve some of the other problems. For example, so this multicast stream starts. It's going fine. What if I subscribe 5 minutes late? Usually there's no mechanism to get the part I missed.
You'd have to have some sort of DVR built into the network.
Now, it's interesting because in middleware, as in corporate middleware, things like 59 West, TibRV, those kinds of things, JMS even, you can have concepts where you'll have multicast data like that, but you have a secondary channel where someone can start subscribing, but then they can hit a secondary channel and request just the data they missed. So you can have architectures.
But that requires storage to hold that data.
Yes, but then you have
Not a lot of routers have big hard drives in them.
But then again, maybe you have a mechanism there where you have a caching server that sits next to your router on your network.
A big old box of drives and RAM under your router. That
but maybe it only caches for the current day or the last hour.
It logs 24 hours of all the multicast data.
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And then it can retransmit just the data you missed. Or it can be preloaded with data to start people subscribing or seeding things early. The sky's the limit. The problem is that the sky's the limit. These are all proprietary things that are usually written or architected for individual use cases. Like, we built it out at my old company for market data, to subscribe to market data. It was a really great solution. So if you wanted level 1 and level 2 market data from U.S. equities markets, there is a solution for you.
Yeah, but let's say, all this equipment, right, for normal people.
Oh, also within a network that we controlled 100%.
Right. All this equipment for normal people would have to be set up at the ISP. So the ISP is going to install a special thing just to help Netflix out. That's not cool.
Well,
and there's so many people that they could possibly help out. They can install one for Amazon also.
YouTube,
how about iTunes?
So Google offers that as a service, and almost all ISPs that are large enough take advantage of it. They will put Google caching servers that cache big chunks of YouTube.
Yeah, but Google's paying for that shit.
That's not 100% clear. I've seen different reports of how the arrangement works. It's not a publicly available thing.
Yeah, isn't that sort of a not net neutrality?
I would argue no, because the way that works is basically you have an ISP, right?
Yep.
So a lot of your customers are coming to Google. They're going through the peering of the internet, and they're hitting Google's like customer gateway and streaming their data. So it's in everyone's vested interest if you have a cache of that super high demand, high bandwidth data inside of the ISP's network to take off that sort of front load.
Yeah,
of the
but
bandwidth.
unless the ISP allows anyone to do this, right, and to make this deal, it's not fair that Google can put their stuff in there.
But
and
at
no
the
one
same
else can.
time, by doing that, that frees up the actual external pipes for all the other content and ends up being better for everyone.
Yet, our internet's still slow as fuck.
That's a separate problem. I'm still battling and research. Remember way back when we talked about those tricks that seem to make YouTube faster?
Yeah.
I'm still investigating that. I've had long conversations with Verizon techs, and I'm not yet at I can't say I'm not at liberty to disclose my findings because I have not found anything that I would report on because I'm not confident enough in the things I've discovered. Suffice it to say, everything's dysfunctional in the American internet at this peering level of internetworks, but that's a separate problem.
Yeah.
But at least in theory, the idea of a content distribution network like that, and Akamai and Amazon, there's all these ways where you basically take your content and you distribute it to far away scattered endpoints so that users can get it first from there, and then it is getting it. So it gets the current copy of, say, your front-end database from your central server. And maybe it only updates once every minute. But then you have billions of people updating every nanosecond from that gateway beyond. The customer's constantly hitting it, but you're not using bandwidth upstream from that caching server.
Yep.
Now, architecting that, as you've probably dealt with because this is a big part of your job, is architecting and optimizing that, especially if it's two-way communication, is not necessarily the easiest thing in the world.
Usually you don't use it for two-way. You use it for one-way, right?
But two-way is the holy grail.
It is. So, like, if you got a website, think about this, right? There are some parts of the website that are different every time someone visits, right? So
ad rotation,
right?
News
no.
update.
I mean, like if you log into Facebook, right? Your news feed is different for every different person. It's not the same, right? So you need, when someone visits Facebook, Facebook needs to generate that part of the page just for that person and that person alone, right? But the Facebook homepage doesn't fucking change. Anyone who visits that shit is seeing the same exact HTML, right? And also, everyone is seeing the same exact, like, Facebook logo image. They're seeing the same Facebook CSS file.
And that stuff is not trivial. I mean, guys, our RSS feed uses almost as much bandwidth as Geeknights sometimes.
Right. It's like there's a lot of files that don't change. Every person visiting sees the same file. And a lot of people are getting those files all the time. So what you do is someone will visit your website, and it'll be like imgsrc equals not facebook.com/image/whatever. It'll be like CDN something Facebook something image. And basically, that image, even though the web page came from a Facebook server, made you that page just for you and sent it to you, all these other parts of the page that don't change ever are on some caching server that Facebook set up, not at your ISP, but near you geographically. And you're going to get all the images and CSS and JS files and things from there instead. And that's hardly ever updated by Facebook. So that means that bandwidth only has to go between you and there, and not between you and the big Facebook server all the way at the Facebook data center.
Now there's an even further complication. All these ideas we talked about with content distribution are kind of assuming that you don't care if people, everyone can see the data. But like a lot of broadcasts of things like HBO shows, they only want certain people to be able to see the data, meaning if they use any sort of content distribution network, the internal traffic has to be inaccessible and probably encrypted.
Yep.
Which adds a whole nother layer. And to illustrate this point, because I realized as Scott and I were talking about this, I don't think many people on the internet know the sort of sordid history of satellite television, let alone how satellites work.
Right, but think about it this way, right? So in terms of the the encrypted send, right? So your HBO, right? You have a server that has the TV shows on it.
Yep.
100 people want to watch, and the show is 20 megabits per second. So that means you need 200 megabits per second of bandwidth. You don't have that much, right? You only have 100, which means, what are you going to do? Let 10 people not watch? You're going to decrease the quality by half? What are you going to do? So what you do is you sort of stream that data to the CDNs, right? So there's maybe 3 CDNs around the world, US, Asia, and Europe, right? So you really only have to send 60 megabits per second, 20 to the first CDN, 20 to the next CDN, and 20 to the third CDN. And then all those users, all that will be, getting to the CDNs, which will copy and resend the data to all of them separately. So even though you do still need in total, all those CDNs aren't cheap, right? And they still have to have that total 200 megabits of bandwidth for all the users, which sucks compared to, say, the radio antenna.
Yep.
You still, at your central server, you need much, much less bandwidth. So no individual piece of equipment really needs to be that ridiculously crazy. Imagine trying to get like everyone in the whole world, right, watching the Super Bowl off one server. It's not going to happen, right? You can split it up to a bunch of servers all across the world that are individually small and easy to set up and have, a reasonable amount of bandwidth each. And then no single piece needs to have a ludicrous amount of bandwidth, even though in total you have that ludicrous amount.
So I want to illustrate all these points by explaining how satellite television evolved in the United States. Because this is a nice one, if you're interested in this, because it's actually kind of a cool story. You can read, there's a Wikipedia page that will go into ludicrous detail about how this all works. But I want to clear up one big misconception. If you have like a satellite receiver for TV, or internet, it's not sending anything back to that satellite. Your upstream is not slow because you're sending it to the satellite. Your little dish can't transmit for shit. You have a modem that's connected via a regular old phone line to your ISP.
Well, why don't you just pair like a cable modem with the dish?
Some people have done things like that, but
then
usually,
if you have a cable modem, why do you have a dish?
That's what I'm saying. The only reason you would ever have a satellite internet is if you live somewhere where phone lines are probably the best thing you can get.
Well, I mean, whenever you see pictures of most countries on Earth don't really have the cable TV, right? You watch, any pictures of like a lot of countries, just everyone has dishes, just satellite dishes. You were in India, satellite dishes everywhere, right?
Yep.
Yeah. See, everyone just has dishes, then get all the fucking channels in the goddamn universe.
So, in the 70s, the way a lot of syndicated television would work is there would be satellites that would broadcast the data, because that was the easiest way to send it to all the different local networks, both, later cable providers, but also over-the-air providers. A syndicated show would be sent up to a satellite and then beamed over basically the entire United States.
Yep.
Because only rich television stations could afford satellite dishes.
Yeah, so there would be a few rich people, like one person in my grandma's neighborhood, would get this gigantic motherfucking dish on their roof.
Well, see, I'm
just
getting
like
to that
horror movie that was reviewed by Cinemassacre that we also saw with Amber.
Oh, yeah. So the reason for that is that, they broadcast like that. There was a really easy distribution mechanism. No one ever thought to encrypt it or anything.
The satellites were expensive, but once they're up there, they're up there.
So in the later 70s, a hobbyist, I forget the dude's name, he basically wrote software and came up with devices that could take that satellite signal and turn it back into a usable picture that consumers could use. So consumers who were savvy realized they didn't have to pay for premium content, and they could consume television from all over the world, not just their local broadcast.
Yeah. You put a big-ass dish on your roof, you aim it at the satellites physically, right?
And then you just basically plugged it through a device into your TV.
Yeah, and then you could watch any channel pretty much anywhere in the world that you could aim your dish at. So I guess you couldn't watch something from the exact opposite side of the world, but maybe you could get a reflection and catch it.
And it turns out a lot of things were broadcast in multiple markets, and you could see a lot of things you weren't expected to be able to see.
You can aim real. I mean, there are those ham radio guys who talk to Australia early in the morning, right? So I bet if you early in the morning, you could probably see Chinese TV.
There was also a huge community in Canada that would do this because they couldn't get a lot of American TV. So obviously, as soon as enough smart people were doing this, they started to show their friends how to do it, and then some companies started selling the equipment, and two things happened. One, a bunch of lawsuits and a bunch of court debates and a bunch of congressional debates. And two, the people who were sending out this data over the air started to try to figure out how to encrypt it.
Yep.
And two things happened as a result of this. One, there was a big debate in the public consciousness in the late 70s and early 80s that is largely forgotten today about whether or not, this echoes back to the beginning of the episode, you have a right to decode signals that are being broadcast into your own home.
Yep.
Funny how the same debates happen over and over again and never get resolved.
That's the thing. Remember, if you want to save a lot on this bandwidth cost and not make copies of everything to send them to specific people, you can save by just spraying your data everywhere without worrying about who receives it. But then anyone can receive it who wants to. So the only way to limit it to certain people is to encrypt it, send it out, and then even though anyone can pick it up and take a look at it, only the people who have the key can actually look at it.
So you can see how this echoes all the debates we're having today. There were arguments made and there were court cases around the idea that maybe it should be illegal to encrypt these broadcasts, because then theoretically, are you not trespassing by sending these signals into everyone's homes that they're not legally allowed, nor are they able to decrypt? Simultaneously, pirate television arrived. People started, the hobbyists who made the original devices pretty trivially figured out the encryption schemes and started selling black boxes.
Yep.
Black boxes in that era meant devices that would decrypt cable TV or satellite signals without a cable box.
Right, because remember, if you encrypt and broadcast this thing, right, you're only sending one copy. It's all encrypted the same way for every person. Everyone has the same key.
So if I figure out the key...
If someone gets that key, it's just like DRM.
And even
it
as
is
a kid,
DRM.
both my uncle and a friend of my dad's had oscilloscopes and crazy satellite dishes, and they were
One person pays for DirecTV, everyone else gets free DirecTV.
They were cracking analog satellite and cable signals in the 80s.
Yep.
Like that is a level of hacker dedication we don't often see today.
Now, there is still plenty of unencrypted broadcast and satellite television, right? Like, I remember at RIT, they had a dish up and they would watch, like, Apple keynotes by satellite, which you couldn't watch in those days. My point
is simply this. The history of satellite television and distribution, the court cases, the lawsuits, the people arrested, the hackers, the debates in society about whether or not you have a right to data that's being handed to you. We had that argument in the 70s, and it didn't go anywhere. We had that argument in the 80s. We had that argument in the 90s. We had the argument in the 2000s. We're having the argument now in the 2013s. There's been no consensus. There have been very few definitive court cases, and frankly, almost nothing has changed. The technology's just gotten more sophisticated along the way.
Yep.
So everything that applied to the satellite debate...
No one wants a TV anymore because it sucks.
I know. But everything that applied to the debates in the 70s and 80s about satellite TV... change some of the proper nouns of the technology and post it to Reddit, it'll sound exactly like what every kid is arguing about today. This has been Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for the opening music, Kat Lee for web design, and Brando K for the logos.
Be sure to visit our website at frontrowcrew.com for show notes, discussion, news, and more.
Remember, Geeknights is not one, but 4 different shows. Sci-Tech Mondays, Gaming Tuesdays, Anime Comic Wednesdays, and Indiscriminate Thursdays.
Geeknights is distributed under a Creative Commons Attribution 3.0 license. Geeknights is recorded live with no studio and no audience. But unlike those other late shows, it's actually recorded at night.
knows my address. But it had like no note in it, no nothing.
Usually there's a note on the white receipt that says
nothing.
The gift and message.
So I just set it on the table and ignored it. And then like a week later, it's like, wait a minute, I ordered something on Amazon that never arrived.
What did you order that never arrived?
Ahem. So what I ordered on Amazon that never arrived.
Was it Netrunner? Because that's from the same company.
It actually was not. That would have made a lot more sense. It was a completely unrelated order of the Mosquito expansion.
For Hive.
For the Hive. The Ladybug expansion for the Hive.
Nice.
A new Jimmy wallet, because mine finally wore out and they don't seem to fucking make them anymore.
They sell those on Amazon?
Yeah, you can't buy them from the Jimmy website anymore. I think they're done. Go to the Jimmy website. They list almost everything as out of stock. And if you actually try to order the things they list as in stock, you just get shopping cart errors.
Store.
Like it doesn't work. I
Jimmy
tried.
X.
I called the Jimmy number and no one answered.
Jimmy
I went on
X,
Amazon. I found one dude.
Your shopping cart is empty. It is not orderable.
Yeah. So there's no. I think they're gone. I think it's done. So
my last Jimmy.
I tried to order 2 Jimmys because I need one and I want. You know, it's an aside, but on Kickstarter, it seems like wallets are the most popular thing to Kickstarter. There's like 1 million. I made a wallet out of
guess my
titanium.
next wallet's going to be a Kickstarted one.
Yeah, and you know what? I looked at every
They all
Kickstarted
suck.
wallet. They all are better. If I didn't know about the Jimmy, they're pretty great compared to a normal wallet. But you know what? I've had a Jimmy. None of them come close.
Why don't we make a wallet even better than the Jimmy and kickstart that motherfucker?
What would I change in the Jimmy? I would... It holds the right number of cards. I would have a separate slot to hold thin cards like Metro cards and things that has exterior access. Just for Metro cards.
We gotta get designer, industrial designer.
We happen to know a few.
Gee, we know a few of everything.
Yeah. You know, we don't know a few of that I actually could really use. A lawyer who is also a financial accountant.
Isn't Thayed some sort of financial lawyer?
Was in the bag, and he looks at me, and he smirks, and he says, and I quote, 2 bricks. I'm like, what? He's like, it was a bag with 2 fucking bricks in it.
Why? Now, here's a question.
I was like, just bricks? And he was like, well, there was a rolled up newspaper too, but there wasn't anything in the newspaper.
What?
So I was like, so why 2? He's like, I don't know.
How does a bag of 2 bricks in a newspaper even fucking...
And you know what? It wasn't even in front of our building. It was in front of the Staples. Okay. So I guess someone wanted to send a message to Staples that they're not going to take these bricks anymore. I don't know. I'm so sick of the see something, say something, because it's never something.
That's right. If you see something, shut the fuck up and save us all a lot of hassle.
If you see like a dude with a gun doing something.
Yeah, because, okay, here's the thing, all right?
If you see like a guy light a stick of dynamite and put it in a bag, you should probably tell someone.
No, here's the problem is if you see something, say something. A bag laying in the street is not something. It's the something part is the problem, right?
Now,
it's like,
I think
if you see something, say something. But you know what something is? Not a blade of grass, not a bag. Something is...
Wait, Scott, if you see a blade... A blade
of grass.
You're going to let a blade go by?
Something is a guy going crazy, right? Something is,
Scott, what if I'm water type?
A fire. Right? Something is,
grass blade's some dangerous shit.
A dude with a dangerous weapon who is not a military or police person, right? That is a something.
Well,
a
then
bag
again, Scott,
is not a something.
What about all those open carry states where there's those assholes walking around with like an AR-15 just openly, just like, yeah, it's my right. It's my right. Because then you can't even say something about that.
That's not even a something, right? It's a difference between that guy just walking in the street with it slung over his back and a guy walking down the street
menacing people going,
holding it, right? It's like in Israel, yeah, everyone's fucking got AR-15s walking around everywhere, right? From military people to normal people to
if you sing in the hobo whitey song, the shotgun, then you might want to say something.
Right. It's in Israel, you walk down the street, everyone's got friggin' M16s everywhere, right? But you know what? It's not something because no one's holding them ready to shoot. They just all got them on their back like it's, an umbrella or something.
But that is not my opening bit. My opening bit is that Amazon fucked up for me in a pretty amazing way.
Okay.
It was a confluence of multiple fuck-ups that I couldn't even use their automated, like, something's wrong with my order thing. I had to talk to a human being.
Okay.
And the human being had to investigate and then deal with it.
They usually just tell you to keep whatever they sent you if they fuck up.
Oh, well, legally, I'm still entitled to keep the thing they sent me.
That's true.
And I might, because it's actually like $70 worth of Star Wars miniature game pieces.
Maybe someone bought it for you as a present.
Yeah, I thought that. That is not what happened.
Okay, so how could you get this game that we know about that is a nerdy thing sent to you?
Yeah, so
by
I got
accident?
the Millennium Falcon.
That seems like too much of a coincidence for a nerdy thing to be sent to us.
Oh, yes, it does. This is why I was confused, and it took some research to be able to go to Amazon and say, yo, guys, here's what I think happened. I've done the research. Deal with it. Because when I went to them the first time, they were like, says your package is delivered. I'm like, yeah, that's why I'm trying to contact you. I don't have the items I ordered. They're like, but it was delivered. And I was like, well, you see, not really, but kind of. So, yeah, so I got Slave 1. First, I was like, did Matt Morgan or someone send me this?
Yeah,
to
he's
try
way
to get
into
me?
that game. If I wasn't playing Netrunner, I'd be playing that game.
Dude, that's the kind of shady shit I would
saw
expect
some
from a good
guys
friend
playing
like
that game at PAX East. It looked pretty good.
Can you imagine, like, you know what we could do? We could find a friend who we know would get addicted to Netrunner and just mail it to them.
Just mail them a core set?
Yeah, just be like,
Start sending out core sets to everyone.
yeah.
And then they'll be stuck buying all the expansions.
So at first I was like, oh, I guess someone sent me this. I wonder if it was Matt, because he's the most into this of anyone I know who he might charge money.
Yeah, that's what people do
No, I
when
want
they're
friends
lawyers.
who will go into a joint business venture with me, paid entirely in stock
There
options.
is actually a website. I don't know if it still exists, but it's actually a pretty new website that comes close to my Stack Overflow of lawyers idea, but not quite. What it is it's sort of all these lawyers. It's almost like, you know those websites you go to hire tutors where they list like their qualifications and their hourly rate?
Oh, yeah.
It's like that for lawyers. So you tell them where you are and what kind of lawyer you want, and it shows you all these lawyers and all their rates, like hourly. And people are like 20 minutes free, you know, $30 per hour after that.
I actually kind of am in the market as Geeknights because Yamato SRL is escalating to the point that I might have to issue some full-on DMCA counter notifications, at which point the only recourse they have is to actually sue us.
All right, I mean, let me search my delicious for...
So anyway, and I ordered a Razer Death Adder Black 3500 High Precision 3.5G infrared gaming mouse.
What's wrong with the gaming mouse you
My
have?
Steel Series XAI fucking broke.
How did it break?
I wore it the fuck out.
How could it be worn the fuck out?
Yeah, so the fire button does not 100% reliably click anymore, which literally my Counter-Strike performance dropped off about 80%. Like one day I was playing Counter-Strike and I just wasn't, like, my kill ratio was 1-to-1 instead of my like 5-to-1. I'm like, what the fuck? I'm doing terribly. So I go into a server where no one's there and I go to a wall and I go click, 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 click. And it went shoot, shoot, nothing, shoot. So I did some testing and yeah, the fire button is just unreliable now. And the cord frayed the fuck up and I had to fix it with tape. So I'm never buying a SteelSeries mouse again.
I'm pretty sure any mouse you get will have that happen if the way
this wore out.
You seem to like breaking your things on purpose to have an excuse to buy replacements.
I bought a less good mouse. I bought a cheaper, less high quality gamer mouse to replace this one.
So I found the lawyer website. It's called Law.
It's Monday, April 8th, 2013. I'm Rim.
I'm Scott.
And this is Geeknights. Tonight we're talking about the distribution of high bandwidth data.
Exciting.
Exciting times.
Let's do this.
It's real good to not be coughing up my lung. I'm post-flu.
Geeknights has returned.
We're back until I might go to Turkey in
Gobble,
the near
gobble,
future.
gobble.
We got Anime Boston coming up. Got to finish our 5 panels
Save
for
it
that
for
shit.
the meta moment.
Well, I guess 4 panels because the 5th one might be a rerun of one we've run in the past at, I don't know, almost every convention we go to.
Yeah.
So yeah, if you're into anime openers from around the world, dogs, I have not updated that shit at all.
No.
So today I go to work. You know, I'm finally like not sick and in my office and doing my thing. And one of my coworkers comes up and he's like, yeah, we can't go out of the building. There's a bomb.
Okay.
So yeah, they like shut down the whole street. And
if only you had been there, you could have opened that bag and saved the bomb squad all that money.
I still think I want someone out there to make this for me. I want to make a see something, shut the fuck up. It's probably someone's underwear and spray paint that or put it on top of the see something, say something signs.
If you see something,
Like,
just
see something,
fucking open it.
See something, don't be a pussy. Open that shit. It's someone's underwear.
Save us all a lot of goddamn time.
So this time I'm like, all right, whatever. So I was actually wanting to go get coffee. So I go downstairs, and of course you can't go out the front of the building because the street's all blocked off.
Go
There's
out the
cops
service
everywhere.
entrance.
So I just walked out the other completely normal entrance on the other side of the building that I guess no one was paying attention to.
Of course.
And I did my business, and by the time I came back, everything's gone. And I see a cop. He's just kind of standing there, and I'm like, so what?